Today we are talking to Darren Nichols from Henderson Technology, and we're going to be talking about all things tech and how they apply to convenience retailing sector. So, Darren, Henderson Technology is reasonably well known these days. You've been working hard in the UK over the last couple of years. Could you give us a little bit of a steer on how the company came about and your retail background and so on, just so that everyone understands the kind of ethos of the business?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks very much. Yeah, so we're based in Northern Ireland, and I suppose you look at our very potted history, where we came from. We're part of the Henderson Group, which runs Spar and 6 other convenience formats in Northern Ireland, with 497 shops here. Wholesaler, retailer, we own about 100 of those, and then the rest are all franchises. About 10, 11 years ago, we decided that the kind of POS systems that we could buy in out from the market just weren't right for what we were trying to do and where the stores were going, what we wanted to do with forecourts. It just wasn't there after an extensive kind of review for our stores. And so in a general kind of bit of madness, some people might say, we decided that we would write our own system because we understood the retail element and we wanted to do it for ourselves. So we wrote Edge POS. That was really about 2010 we started that. You roll that forward to today, Edge POS is now in 670 stores, 400 odd in Northern Ireland, and then I guess we started in the GB, and we also have 160 sites out in Australia, all using the system. And we've always said that it's been a different journey to most POS companies out there, because we came from what we wanted in retail. We are retailers, we own our own shops. And therefore we had to make the system match what the stores were trying to do, which in a very fast moving growth market, it's really tricky to do. And we do lots of things that maybe don't commercially, other companies mightn't have done, but we knew that it was right for retail. So it's been a real eye-opening, exciting journey to be on, and we did realize quite halfway through that what we'd done for our own stores really did apply commercially for everybody else, and therefore trying to come up with that system and really sell it on to other sites to benefit from what we'd learned is where we find ourselves today.
That was what I was going to ask. When you wrote Edge POS originally, was the intention purely to use it in your own stores, or did you have one eye on possibly selling it on in the future?
It was purely, right, let's get this right for our stores. But it did then become very evident once we'd done that and put all those hard miles in the start that actually what we'd done was perfectly applicable. Actually, Australia was the first place we went because of some of the developers we had were actually Australian. That was the first place we went, and we immediately realised that what we'd done there directly applied for outside of the group,
Yeah. So you're rolling out now. So you've been doing well, certainly across Scotland in the last year or two and across the UK. And I'm assuming that last year, the whole coronavirus shenanigans there's been lots of downsides to it, but one of the upsides has clearly been an acceleration of the adoption of technology, in-store technology in all formats across convenience retail. Is that what you're seeing? How has that impacted on your business?
Absolutely. We've been impacted the same as everybody else. It's been challenging in terms of our staff, our customers have had Christmas week every week for a year basically now, and that puts strain on everybody. But we have seen a real marked shift in terms of people being willing to adopt and look at things they mightn't have looked at before. You couple retailer needs now with a shopper expectation that wasn't necessarily there before. Shoppers see that in terms of hygiene, in terms of what they want to be able to do in a shop and get in and get out quickly. They need to change their journeys, and retailers have needed to adapt to that and to make sure they're meeting those new customer needs. What we've tried to do is make sure that we can meet those needs at a price that would be affordable to retailers, because that's the real challenge. Is there's lots of extra cost to be able to do all this stuff, whether it's home delivery, whether it's click and collect, whether it's self-checkouts and all changing how that. It all costs money, and retailers have to be able to get that at a price point that works for them so that they can adopt it. And that's been a real focus for ours, is to make sure that all the solutions we might come up with work for independent convenience and forecourt retailing, because it's not all about the big box guys, But what we've seen is retailers really open to that, really going right, recognising that their shopper requirements are changing, recognising that technology is a big part to play in that. I'm not saying that we are the answer, but we're part of the answer, and being part of that equation to help enable retailers has been key to what we're trying to do, and that's been very successful for us. We are genuinely, I know lots of people say it, but we're generally trying to partner with retailers understand what they want to do, understand what they need, and make sure that the actual solutions we come up with enable them to do that, you know.
What sort of solutions are you getting most demand for at the minute from retailers?
What we have seen is obviously home delivery and click and collect is something that's on everybody's minds. Big challenge about that is doing it in a way that makes you money, and that has been a real challenge for retailers. A lot of retailers are looking at it, going to free to delivery models and things like that, and going to aggregator platforms. Challenge of this is that fees can vary wildly, and so, you know, we did come up with our own solution that we the Appetite app that we have integrated with EdgePOS that we're doing for home delivery, click and collect. It's something that's going to be here, and I think that's one of the things for retailers. It mightn't be at the same level as now, but what we have seen is something that we would have said maybe it was 5 or 6 years away is immediate now. People have to have an offering for home delivery, click and collect. And what I see from a lot of our stores and a lot of our partners that we work with is our stores are in the right place. They're in the communities. They're in the place to be able to offer a good delivery solution and click and collect solution. If we look at forecourts and the space they have around them, you know, we're looking to the future about whether it's about temperature controlled lockers on those forecourts. But if you've got the location, then you should be able to come up with a model that makes it viable for you to offer that solution to your customers in that area. And that's a massive starting point that you have above the big multiples that might be out there. And it's not the same for every shop. We've noticed that some of our stores are doing both. Some stores are only doing click and collect, which is obviously an easier model, economic viable for retailers. But there's also people who only do it for certain shop parts of the shop, you know. But it's thinking about that. It's thinking about how you manage that interaction with retailer or with shoppers outside of your shop, you know, and what people see when they see you. So making sure that your app's right, that the pricing's right in it, and it's not an offer that turns shoppers off, you know. The other big thing you see people talking about now is frictionless retailing, that people now expect to be in and out without talking to anybody, without doing anything. That's a hygiene thing, you know, which COVID's driving quite a bit about, is about people wanting to get in and out without interacting with you and me and breathing over each other, whatever that might be. But it's also about speed and getting in and out of the shop. I think there's so many points in that that retailers have to think about. And I think it really starts with self-checkouts, which does not sound like an innovative technology these days. You know, it's well established in multiples across the UK and across the world, but it's not established in convenience and forecourt retailing. It's a technology that hasn't caught on there until now. You know, it's one of those things we did decide to design ourselves because we looked at this 4 years ago and wondered why people weren't doing this, and it was about the price. You know, the units that you might see in a large supermarket are really expensive. It's also about the floor plan. You know, we're working with convenience stores and they don't have the space to put these in, maybe dedicated. So we went back and designed self-checkout, took all the complexity out of it and made it like a bolt-on to your existing till. Because, again, what I was talking about before, making it a price that retailers can adopt. You know, we have seen 100, I'm going to get my figures right here, 112 stores have gone live with self-checkouts with us in the past 8 months. And it's been a massive uptake and right across the board. Now, that's people reacting to how COVID's doing. What it allows them to do is man more checkouts than they might necessarily have. You know, you have staff pressures of people being off sick or self-isolating, trying to keep as many checkouts going. You have different flows in terms of when your peak hours have gone completely changed. Nobody knows when their peak hour is half the time now. So they're trying to keep that, and self-checkouts allow you to do that and allow you to manage the business, but it also is meeting a shopper need. And shopper need is they want to come in, and lots of demographics now don't really want to interact, they just want to get in and out. And I suppose the last one I was going to talk about was electronic shelf edge labels. We've seen a massive uptake in those. Something, again, that's not innovative. It's been, if you go to the continent, every store has them due to the trading laws there and how they get hit with penalties if they have a wrong price. But now with COVID, you want less people on the shop floor. If you don't want you want the shop floor reserved for shoppers so that you can make sure that people can get in and out. You want to keep your social distancing right. So that has grown massively. And again, we've done 20 stores since August with electronic shelf edge labels. In the 10 years before that, we've done 1 store. We have another 28 stores to go live now before June. Big uptake. Again, we worked at the price point. We don't sell anything. We kind of hire it all out to retailers. So there's no upfront cost. Same for the electronic labels.
Yeah, so we're at a bit of a tipping point then in terms of adoption of technology. One of the things that I've always found really interesting about Henderson and the solution is the fact that it all integrates. Years ago, I had a store myself, and we tried to integrate lots of things and hit all sorts of problems trying to get things together. But one of the things that doesn't get discussed awfully much in convenience at the minute, but I think it's coming, is data in a wider sense. And to be able to develop that and get the most out of data on that journey that we're talking about, Amazon Fresh is the end game, but we make the steps towards it. You need it all to be integrated, and that's one of the strongest pluses I think about Henderson's technology, is this stuff all integrates seamlessly, and it's no workarounds where you plug that into there and try and pull this into there and stick APIs in to get that data and manually type in that bit and stuff. It all works together. Do you share my views on, do you think data is going to become a bigger thing in convenience retailing in the future? How important will, tech solutions be in facilitating that?
I think absolutely. I saw an interesting article about Amazon last week I read where somebody had said, not to quote them verbatim, but they said the thing about Amazon is that they know their customer. But the other thing about Amazon is they also know your customer, which I thought was a really interesting way of looking at it. And that's all about data and understanding what shops. But I still think across our sector, it's actually understand the data about your stock first. In a lot of stores still there's an awful lot of way to go about their sales patterns and what they're doing. And whenever we look at providing technology, I always say that we're doing our job well, but nobody's talking about us. We should be there to enable the retailers to make decisions, and that comes from having one simple system. So they have one place to go to get a report about their sales. They have one place to go to change a price. And that means that integrations have to be key, because you want your product data to be perfect, and if you don't have that, or you're having to, and this comes into the home delivery thing, having a separate system where you've updated the price in the shop, but you also then want to change it for your online system, that can get convoluted for retailers. It become really unwieldy really quickly. So having everything integrated into one place is key to that, and that's how you start the journey of understanding the data. Understand the data about what's selling in your shop first. Yeah. Getting onto shopper journeys and where you get into where loyalty schemes sit, absolutely. Yeah. But if you don't understand what stock you should have in the shop in the first place, that piece comes on down on the track. So data is key. Data is the new oil. But having a partnership there, and we do see it as a partnership with retailers. We're here for the long term. Therefore, if I'm as a commercial company, as a till provider in the shops, I want people to work with us the long term. I don't want them to see roadblocks where they can't evolve. Fundamentally, because we have our own shops, we have to make our system evolve, and we have to make sure that we work with best of breed guys out there to make sure that our system, as the core system that's running that shop and the core point of contact in terms of working out your daily sales, your weekly sales, what you're going to order the next week, is there. But then we can build these options around that. It's all about that master data, where that comes from. Understanding that data, I think, is the key thing for people.
Yeah. You guys take quite an interesting approach to sort of working with other companies, with third parties and things. How is that done in response to sort of demands from your retail customers, or how do you decide what you're going to look at next and what things you might consider for sort of full integrations and so on?
I say all the time, we're a really good best of breed POS company. That does not mean we're good at every part of technology. But what we want to do is have a united face to retailers, because we want to take the pain of understanding there are hundreds of different players in this. One of the things that we always say the first globally to launch was with a company called Gander, which was about price reductions on yellow stickered items you put in your shop. It's coming short dated, put the yellow sticker on, away you go. Gander, we approached, we're three people working on the Isle of Man, came to us and we said, well, what can we do together? We launched that in 300 shops. We have 1 million interactions now. We have hundreds of thousands of downloads. It was a completely different trial, and I suppose why that happened was, again, back to us having our own stores. We were able to go to our retail operations guys and said, we've found this technology, I think it's really interesting, we're going to try it in some sites. You get them on board, understanding what conversation has to have there. Those guys Gander guys are now working with the Co-op in England, things. It's gone away on ahead. But we like to try things, and having our own retail division means that we have a door to try things, and therefore once we've learnt about it, it's a lot easier to come to all the independent retailers and say, right, well, EdgePOS does this. You can bolt on Gander, you can bolt on Scan Pay Go, electronic labels. Why should you bolt them on? Well, here's the business case that we used our own stores to make that valid. So we have now data about why electronic labels add around 0.5% to your margin every time there's a promotion change, because we've done that in our own stores. But it's also having an open attitude, being willing to work with anybody. We'll not say no to everybody. We'll not say yes to everybody either. But we're always willing to have conversations with other providers.
Are you working on any interesting new stuff at the minute? You're casting your eye over anything interesting that we might see from you guys down the line?
Well, we have a few trials up and going with Scan Pay and Go. So this is down that trip towards, if you think of the Amazon model as the ultimate scenario of this. We're trying to marry that up with the operational model of a store, how a store then knows that somebody's actually paid, So that's a challenge with these kind of technologies. Because if you look at Amazon Go, it's all one way. It's all people paying with their mobile or whatever it might be on their leave. Once you start to blur that, and you'll have seen Sainsbury's trials in London where they tried this and then immediately had to put tills back in. So I think that's one to watch out for in the future. As we go, we're looking at lots of strange things about how we could use voice technology in stores. Whether you're looking at on-shelf availability, how we can really make the store more efficient. And lots of driving that, because I've seen over the past kind of year where staff mightn't have been available as much as they were, or you couldn't have as many people doing the same job as that. So we're trying to review like store operations and how we can make that more efficient and more streamlined, to allow people to be freed up to do the jobs that really add value in the shop. EV is going to change the landscape for forecourt retailers, and nobody really knows how. And that's a really interesting bit that we're all keeping engaged to, because technology is a key part of that.
In a certain sense, coronavirus has come along at a good time for retailers, because it's given them the impetus to sort of move forward and start embracing these things, because I don't think technology is going to go away anytime soon. We're going to see more and more and more inconvenience, and it's the retailers that get on that first and do it properly from the off that will benefit most in the long term.
I think what people have to think about is, in their budgets for their stores, their spend in technology is going to go up, and what's going to counterbalance that? Is that more sales? Is it being more efficient? Because there will be offsets in that, and trade-offs as we go along. But it's understanding that, and what we as technology providers have to make sure is that spend, that technology is bringing value. As a wise man once said to me, technology is either making you money or saving you money. That's the two, that you be doing one or other.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Darren. It's been fascinating, and I hope everyone that watches it enjoys it too. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.